Today on NerdOut, Project NEWM. Welcome back to NerdOut, the show where we take a look at Cardano and we break it down, but we don't dumb it down. Today we're going to be talking to Ryan Jones from Project NEWM. And before we get started, I just want to say that I am a technical advisor on this project, so nothing in this interview should be taken as legal, financial, otherwise advice. This is just for you to get to know Project NEWM. So without further ado, let's jump into that interview. Welcome, Ryan. It's good to have you on the channel today. We're going to be talking about your Project NEWM. So without further ado, let's get into it. In one sentence, what is NEWM?
Project NEWM. It is a decentralized streaming platform that's going to allow musicians to allow their listeners to actually potentially invest in their music and become partial owners in the intellectual property rights / mechanical recording rights of music. Boom.
Wonderful long sentence.
Thank you.
What problem or problems does NEWM solve?
So the current music industry is predatory. The model is moving from physical to digital. But the streaming services that will eventually make up the bulk of the revenue stream for artists do not reflect the current payouts that need to happen, right? So right now they're just a novelty that I get a check in the mail, but we're changing that to where that makes that the primary point of income for the artist.
Awesome. So why did you choose blockchain to solve this problem?
Well, the reason that most artists and musicians don't get paid a lot of money right now is because the current system that's set up has a lot of needless middlemen that take cuts along the way to the tune of 50% at sometimes on royalty collections. Wow. Yes. So that's why we chose blockchain, because we were replacing middlemen with protocol. Not removing, but we're just replacing it with a protocol that's not incentivized to necessarily make such a large profit.
Awesome. So why did you pick in particular Cardano as your blockchain of choice?
Have you bought any Pokemon on Ethereum lately?
I have not.
Well, they actually don't actually hash them to the chain because the cost for the transaction is worth more than the cost of the asset in the first place, which is ridiculous, right? So yeah, the cost to actually mint a token or a native asset on Cardano is significantly cheaper. So the business model is much more appealing. So
awesome. And so those assets or fractionalized ownership of the music rights and stuff, those can be traded, transferred, anything like that. Is that correct?
Yes, most assuredly. So it's essentially a brand new asset class.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about who is on the team that'll be building this out.
Yeah, so we have a core team. So I have two co-founders. First person is Mark Stopka, who's our technical director. Then we have Florian Sorg, who is our chief financial officer. So me as the founder, I came to them and said, hey, I want to build this. And they said, great, this is not going to work. And I said, well, that sucks. Make it work. So Florian came up with a business model that actually makes this a viable option. Whereas, like example title, it failed, right? So then we also have head of marketing, that's Caleb. We have our graphic design or our brand, right? So our brand manager, that's Tiziana. And then we have Alex, our social media marketing person. We also have an ambassador program that Caleb manages, which is a team, at least in America right now, of roughly 8 people in different markets across the country to help actually drive this narrative to people in the industry. And so to get them to understand what is actually out there, right? So we're finding that the hardest thing is just going to be educating people to know that they have this option available.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you plan on getting funding to build all of this wonderful technology?
Well, we're actually submitting a proposal in Fund 6 and Catalyst. That'll be our first. Okay. Yeah, that'll be our first funding round. And, just a heads up for everybody wondering, if you're an American, we cannot do a public sale to you. Sorry. That's just what we have to do, right? So we're going to make sure we're tip top on top of all of our P's and Q's. But that being said, we're trying to change an entire industry. That's going to cost money for lawyers, right? And this is going to be new law. So a lot of our funding is going to be going to obviously the technical side, but also for the law side of paying those legal fees of doing the hard work for all of you so you can reap the benefits, and, myself included, right? So,
yeah, speaking of benefits, what's one thing that's unique to NEWM that I, as a user, can't do anywhere else? Like when I interact with your platform.
You can't own part of a song anywhere else. I'm just saying, right? So I mean, look, Andrew, if you create the next awesome piece of music called like Nerd Out, I don't know, we can literally, you can call it Nerd Out and you can mint it on there. I want to own 2% of this thing because, obviously people are going to be listening to this. So I want to make some revenue from this.
Very cool. So how can the Cardano community support you and learn more about your project? What are the best ways to do that?
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know this, we originally were Project Muse. Muse Stake Pool does directly support this, right? But we decided that we needed to rebrand just because we had some people confusing us with the band Muse, and we don't want that. So we've rebranded to Project NEWM. That's NEWM. It's not the appropriate spelling for the actual NEWM, but it's a play on words. So we actually are
So
having
what is the plan? Can you explain the play on words a little bit for people that aren't musical literate?
Yeah, here's my music nerd coming out. So pneumatic notation, if you're wondering the etymology of that word, France, that would be, so essentially that's one of the earliest forms of Western civilization musical notation that we have, and it's spelled N-E-U-M-E, but the pronunciation is the same, NEWM, right? So our play on that is new, N-E-W-M, like new media, new music, right? New medium. So all of those things. So, actually, I think it works out for the better because it kind of ticks my music nerd box in the background.
Okay, so back to the first question before I interrupted you. How can the Cardano community support you and more?
Yeah. Well, fun sex, but then also we are having a new launch of the website that's going to be going live very soon, projectnewm.io. And we still have the old website up right now, projectmuse.io, which we do have a sign up for a mailing list, for an email list. So that's still up. If you want to go and sign up, that's still fine. That'll be ported over. But if you're staking with Stake Pool Muse, we also have our Telegram group that we, keep in touch about all these things. And there are tons of people in there that are anywhere from musicians to other people in the tech industry. So we have great conversation that goes on in there. So yeah, come and join us.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time today. And we look forward to hearing more about your project.
I appreciate it, man.
With that, can you tell us Nerd Out?
Nerd Out.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man.